Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
All right.
Been a long day, but I'm here.
Indeed it has.
Yeah.
So what's everybody been up to? Sharenda, you go first.
Hunting. Planning to hunt. Planning other people to hunt. And work.
Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Paul, what you been up to?
I am back in Illinois, and I am loading a trailer up full of reloading gear. And a deer hearse. I have to get the deer hearse done too. So, yeah, that's hopefully the last trip.
Yeah. Jim, how about you?
I went camping over the weekend, and I made sure that stay well protected. It was cold, windy, and chilly, but I kept the Ruger SR40C nice and warm, safe, secure, and out of sight.
Nice. Nick?
Hunted on Saturday and then had to work at the gun store selling guns on Sunday.
Nice. How about you, Mike?
Pretty much work. Work and more work. I found another toy to add to my on hold bin. 1903 A3. It's been chopped a little bit and sporterized, but it's only going to cost me $200. So that'll get me into the A3s, and then I can always just whatever from there. Barrel's been chopped down a little bit, but
it's actually just an 03, not an 03A3.
Oh, sorry, just an 03.
You're good. That's a common mistake. The way it's a true 03 is it's a Mark 1.
Okay.
It's got the Pedersen device hole on the side.
Ah. All right. Yeah, so I got that. It's got that's not the original factory site, right, Nick?
No, so that's the factory site would have been the ladder site.
Yeah.
Right in front of the receiver, but a lot of match shooters would add those. I think Lyman made them. A couple of the companies made them, but that's what a lot of guys would use it. Yeah, a lot of guys would use it as the national matches.
Yeah, so it's got the match site on it, which will be fun. But yeah, that's had my first day in the gun library, so that was fun. Just fun getting to see all this interesting stuff coming in and out and doing that versus being over on the retail part. So, and got another podcast posted, working on getting a couple more posted tonight. Thanks to Travis and Chris Sharp for doing the editing on those. After they both get a few under their belts, it'll be a lot quicker process because then I won't have a need to listen to each of them to give them feedback. So that'll be even nicer. But other than that, not really much. So Nick B wants to know if they've got any moist nuggets at Arcabella's. Not currently, I don't believe. We've had a few come in and out, but nothing currently. So mainly Subsonic wants to know, what's everyone think of YouTube's new policy regarding firearms and accessories? I have no idea. I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. I read some of them and heard the complaints of others. It keeps narrowing it down, but we're not monetized as far as I know.
Nope.
So we're not. We don't get too much flack from them. But the we can't show any guns on the show when we're live, so we have to do discussions, and it crimps our style a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they basically, no 30-round mags, no semi bang bangs, that kind of stuff online. That's it.
Okay.
So, yeah, fun. Jim,
Sir.
you brought that 40 with you on your camping trip. You sure that was going to keep you warm?
No, I kept it warm.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it does it work? I mean, 40, short week.
I'll let you catch a few sometime.
Oh, it's okay with me, just as long as you're good at catching 45s on the other end.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Oh,
That way you can show me how it's done.
Okay.
So, well, tonight we're going to have Cartridge Corner back. Tonight we're going to talk about the 375 H Magnum, also known as the Holland Magnum, or as known by a few of my brother's friends as we were growing up, the 375 H Hippo Blaster. I don't remember what we were watching. They were a couple of my brother's friends. I was watching some African hunting show, late 80s, early 90s. And a couple of my brother's friends were over. And they were talking about the 375 H. They were talking about using it on a Cape Buffalo and how they've used it on hippos. And that one of his friends said that, and it's stuck ever since. So I knew that we had to talk about that cartridge tonight, and I knew when I did it, I had to name it that. So just one of those cool little fun things from growing up. But so the 375 H Magnum, it's a medium bore. I don't know how you can. I guess I would like to know what a large bore is. I suppose they're probably considering, even though I suppose that would not consider their ATF rules of nothing larger than a 50 cal when they're talking about large bore. So medium bore would probably 375 would be a medium, because there are some 700s, so that would probably be their large bore then. 500 to 700, I would guess.
400 starts their large bore. 416.
Okay.
In Africa. That's just so.
Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense then. Right. So it was made introduced by the London gun maker Holland & Holland in 1912. Holland & Holland is, in case you don't know, is one of the largest, not volume-wise, but successful-wise, rifle manufacturers from the early 1900s, at least, when it came to big game rifles in Africa. And I'm not going to go into them because we're not talking about rifles. We're talking about cartridges. So anyway, they were always looking to make a better cartridge for animals in Africa. And let's face it, there's a lot of big, scary, nasty things in Africa that don't die very well. So you need something to put a lot of hurt on it in a short amount of time. And so in 1912, they introduced it. It was a belted cartridge to ensure correct headspace. So it actually headspaces on the belt, not on the shoulder or on the neck or on the rim. Because the shoulder on that is kind of a narrow design. So cartridge was designed to use Cordite, which was in long strands, hence the tapered shape of the case, which as a beneficial side effect also helped in smooth chambering and extraction from a rifle's breech. Another reason it's popular, you can get it in and out real quick. So 375 H&H is often cited as one of the most useful all-around rifle cartridges, especially in shooting large and dangerous game. You're talking 270 to 350 grain bullets, and holy crap, are they moving. So a 270 grain is moving at 26.25. That's faster than a good chunk of the cartridges we use for whitetail and elk in this country. And then you pair it with that 270 grain bullet, and you've got 4,132 foot-pounds of force at the muzzle. So it's powerful. So the 375 H&H is a result of the competition between British rifle manufacturers to develop new cartridges to take advantage of the new smokeless powders. You know, we're still 1912, so it's pre-World War I. We're still talking. You're still less than 30 years from the advent of smokeless powder. And
Cordite was smokeless,
right? But smokeless powder really became a thing in what was it? 1888, I think, was the first smokeless.
French, yeah,
first smokeless powder cartridge. So we're not even 25 years from that. Nope. We're just about to 25 years. So the 9.5 by 57 Mannlicher Schonauer cartridge had a major influence on British rifle manufacturers. As soon as adopted by Wesley, Richards, and Ely, I don't know how to pronounce it. I never have figured it out. As the 375 Rimless Nitro Express 2.25 inch. In an effort to compete, Holland & Holland introduced the 400/375 Beltred Nitro Express. That was developed in 1905. And the 9.5 by 57 MS just in 1908. So the 400/375 H&H, also known as the 375 Velopex, Velopex, as it is sometimes known as the first manufactured cartridge to feature a belt. So the belt to the rimless cartridge provided an advantage of allowing correct head spacing on a highly tapered cartridge, and smooth feeding through magazine rifles. So, because it was rimless. And then go on and talk about a couple other cartridges, yada yada, blah blah blah. And, so between 1909 and 1911, Holland, Jeffrey Rigby, and Wesley Richards introduced their own cartridges. So you've got the 375 H&H, the 404 Jeffrey, the 416 Rigby, and the 425 Wesley Richards in the attempt to beat back the nasty German cartridge of the 9.3 by 62, which was released in 1905 and was a huge hit in Africa. So they decided that the bullet had to have an adequate sectional density, as that was the big thing for the 9.3 by 62 Mauser cartridge, is it was giving really good penetration depth on thick-skinned, dangerous game. And then the second thing was speed. Because as Roy Weatherby has proved over and over and again, speed is key. And then they wanted to, the third thing that they needed was it to function reliably in tropical conditions. So you needed a taper case working at lower pressures, so your brass didn't overswell and get stuck. So they kind of spent some time working on it, and that's when they came out with the 375 Holland & Holland Magnum. And it was released with a rimmed version, also known as the 375 Nitro Express. So it had the belt from the 400/375 H&H, fired a 300 grain bullet, which had the same sectional density of that 9.3 by 62 Mauser cartridge at a velocity of 2,500 feet per second. The cartridge burned cordite and had a rather low working pressure of 47,000 psi by modern standards, so that the cases would extract reliably in the environments of India and Africa. Sorry, I'm a little stuffed up. So, original cordite loads were as follows: 62 grains of cordite for the 235 grain bullet, listed to 2,800 feet per second tested. 61 grains for the 270 grain bullet, yielding a listed 2,650 feet per second, and 58 grains of cordite for the 300 grain bullet, yielding a listed 2,500 feet per second. It was it was easy to say, proprietary design, so it wasn't based off anything else. They literally built this one from the ground up. The only thing they took from any other cartridge is that belt design from the 400 375. So they were built on the longer Mauser actions.
Hey, Mike, real quick. How much cordite was in those?
62 grains for the 235 grains, 61 grains for the 270, and 58 grains for the 300.
That's almost double what 303 British was in the Mark
Right.
7 loads.
Yeah, so it's what in the 303. There's what, 4 sticks?
37. In there? There's 37 grains.
Yeah, it's like what, 4 sticks?
Depending on the manufacturer, you can go
Right.
anywhere from 4 to about 15, just depending on when it was produced and all that.
Yeah, because I know the 303s that I've pulled down that had cordite in them had 4 long strands.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because sometimes they can get thicker strands, sometimes they'll be super skinny strands. It
right.
just depends.
It wasn't until after World War I that Holland & Holland released the cartridge to the public. And then it was seen as the best medium bore dangerous game cartridge available for African safari hunting and could be easily used for large game in North America. Winchester was the first U.S. gun maker to produce rifles chambered in the cartridge in 1925. So the end of World War II saw many gun makers turning to the civilian shooting market when wartime contracts ran out. So you've got FN, Mauser, Remington, Winchester turning out quality bolt action rifles. And the 375 was the go-to cartridge. So
it was also chambered in the side by side, the side by sides, which is Holland & Holland is famous for.
Yep.
But the reason they developed the 375 was for sportsmen to have more than 2 shots with a sporting rifle in a bolt action rifle, which they use Mauser actions. And it's a good all-round cartridge. It's
so to put this in something that most people can understand. I mean, you hear 30-06, you understand 30-06, you understand 30-06 ballistics. So the 375 H&H is about the same trajectory as 180 grain 30-06 load. That's a 270 grain bullet, which basically, if you set a 375 at the same place as a 30-06, they're gonna travel at about the same the entire trip. However, the 30-06 is only generating about 2914 foot-pounds of energy at the barrel compared to the 4100 that the 375 is. So it's obviously been a sporting usage. huge amount. One of the things I want to talk about is all the cartridges that have come from this cartridge. You've obviously got two of the common ones, which is the 375 H&H Ackley improved, because Ackley did that to a lot of cartridges. You've got Roy Weatherby that liked the hot rod cartridges, so you got the 375 Weatherby Magnum.
And then if you want to shoot dinosaurs in the ass end, you have the 378 Weatherby.
Yep. So cartridges based on the full-length 375 H&H Magnum case. 244 H&H Magnum. 7 STW, which is shooting times Westerner. 30 Super. 300 H&H Magnum. 300 Weatherby Magnum, 8mm Remington Magnum, 340 Weatherby Magnum, 350 Griffith and Howe Magnum, 358 Shooting Times Alaskan, 375 Weatherby Magnum, which we already covered, 40 BSA Magnum, 400 H&H Magnum, 416 Remington Magnum, 458 Lot, 470 Capstick. Standard length cartridges based on the 375 H&H Magnum case. 257 Weatherby Magnum, 26 BSA Magnum, 264 Winchester Magnum, 270 Weatherby Magnum, 275 H&H Magnum, which was developed at the same time they were developing the 375. 7x61 mm S&H, 7 Rem Mag, 7 Weatherby Mag, 300 Win Mag, 308 Norma Mag, 33 BSA Mag, 338 Winchester Mag, 358 Norma Mag, 458 Winchester Mag. Short action cartridges based on the 375 case. 6.5 Remington Magnum, 350 Remington Magnum, and the 450 Marlin. So that's all these cartridges based off of this one cartridge.
And then Wildcats.
And that's just factory stuff. That's not even Wildcat stuff, yeah. So, Nick, Craig NMZ has a question. What exactly was Cordite?
I'm going to pull up a picture of it. See how well this is going to come up on here. Okay, so for everybody knows, I did a podcast up at Vortex about 2 years ago, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. So Cordite is a little bit different from standard powder. You got your ball, you got your extruded. This is completely different. If you can imagine, this is how I put it. If you can imagine angel hair, whole grain pasta, that's what it looks like. I don't know how well this is going to. That is what Cordite looks like. Just tons of strands of little pasta. So, and it does not burn. It actually explodes. And everybody's probably wondering what this little card in here is. It's called an Overwatch Card. Basically, it's another form of protection from water getting into the case to disrupt the powder. As a bit nuts was saying, I believe the 50s is when they got rid of it. It's very temperature sensitive. I shoot a lot of original 1940s Mark 7. It's a click and then a pop. Most of the time, I'll pull it and just use the bullet. But it's not the best anymore to use. Like, yeah, Craig, a very, very, very long extruded powder. So, but yeah, that's what Cordite is. A lot of the battleships used it in the big bags of sacks of it. That was Cordite. But that's basically a general summary of what Cordite was. Spudman, very, I would say very corrosive. It's get your gun pretty dirty. A lot of times it's more the primer. The salts in the primer is what get your barrel dirty. But I would imagine Cordite's pretty corrosive as well.
In the case of using Cordite, I would say it would probably be the best to err on the side of caution and clean your gun immediately after you return from shooting.
Absolutely.
With hot soapy water, am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, Cordite itself was not a corrosive powder. It was hygroscopic, which brought in moisture into it.
Yeah.
So the powder itself wasn't corrosive, and the lead primer was also a big problem with the cartridges as far as corrosion.
So, it's still many places. It's still the legal minimum for hunting game.
Certain antelope, it is the minimum, and you can't hunt lions with anything less than a 375. There's not a pH around that will let you go after Cape Buffalo with anything less than a 375. And if you're dumb enough to go after a Cape with or a hippo with something less than that, more power to you.
They'll only do it once.
Most of the time you don't even get that opportunity because PHs will just be like, no, I'm not going to have to save your ass. So you bring this or you don't go. So to give you an idea of when we were talking about a current factory load for a 300 grain, it has a muzzle velocity of 25-30 feet per second, and it's churning out 4263 foot-pounds of energy. So the 300 grain has a similar bullet trajectory to that of the 308 Winchester firing 180 grain.
Don't they use the 375 extensively in Alaska too, particularly for brown bear, black bear? Not brown, black bear. Grizzly
Yes.
and brown bear.
Grizzly and polar.
All three. All three of the big nasty bruins.
So, yeah, I mean it's just a beast.
It's comfortable to shoot, though. It's not an uncomfortable rifle to
yeah, that's what I've heard. I've never gotten the privilege to shoot it, but
I've fired a couple of them. One of them, a Steyr with its rotary magazine, very, very comfortable to shoot. I've shot a Weatherby in 378. That one's a little worse, but it's a very comfortable. If you can carry one, it is probably one of the best elk rifles around. For normal hunting, I don't mean 1,000-yard shots. I mean something out to 500 yards. It's a very good elk rifle, and I had a friend of mine that took an elk at about 375 yards, took one step, and that was it. And it was down. It broke both shoulders, and that was it. So it's a good rifle round. He used it in Africa to take a lot of different game. And the one antelope that you have to use it on is a kudu. And that's because they have a a minimum on that antelope. So,
well, as I recall, this is not from experience, from just reading. The kudu is a pretty large beastie in its own self, isn't it?
yeah, it is. You're talking 1,400 pounds. So it's
On the same neighborhood size as an elk, if not bigger.
bigger than an elk. It's it gets close to our American buffalo bison size in that situation. So, and for Cape buffalo, you use solids only, okay? Because you want the penetration. Everything else, they'll let you use soft points. But for Cape, they want solids.
It's a one-piece bullet.
I'm going to include an article from Outdoor Life that talks about it in the show notes too. They're talking to a couple of professional hunters over in Africa about it and different things like that. So, good portion of the information came from Wikipedia. So, thanks to Wikipedia. But Outdoor Life article contributed to it, and then also just various other random sources on the internet and loading books.
There you go, Sharonda. That's your next rifle right there. 375 H Magnum. And you heard from the man who has shot one right there.
He I bet it has a nice price tag too.
Oh, only what, 35K?
Oh, Paul's got jokes.
3.5K. I don't know.
Anyway, all right, gang. Who wants to go first?
Mine's easy.
Go ahead.
The whole Winchester, Remington. Well, leave Remington out of it. Peterson Brass, all the big ammo makers are going to be my reloading shop. I couldn't shoot enough ammo. I could not shoot enough ammo to make me happy. So let somebody else reload.
So you're going to let somebody else reload? You're not going to reload for yourself?
Hell no. I'm going to be too busy shooting their ammo.
Okay.
No, it's...
So...
to answer you seriously, I would invest in another house. One room for handguns, one room for a rifle. Simple as that.
Okay. So the question is, money's not an object. What type of reloading room are you going to build? What size? What shape? And general idea of what you're going to put in it. Not getting down to the fine tic-tacs, but so that's Jim's.
And you could use the other rooms in the house for storage.
Spudman says you need one room for ALX. So,
Nick, you're working on one now.
Yep,
I am.
And
I wish it was bigger. That's the main thing.
Okay.
How many foot of bench do you have?
I have it's 8 foot on one wall, 5 foot on another. I'd prefer, if I could have, I would have liked to have done 10 by 10, 10 on one wall and 10 on the other wall. I'd have a whole nother room. I would actually, if it was all the way I would have done it, eventually I want to build my own house. So eventually when I do that is I'm going to pour 3 concrete walls and have an actual vault room with a vault door for my gun safe. And then off of that, I will have a room that's temperature stable. That's will keep all my primers, projectiles, bullets, all that will be in its own area. I know. I can rub it in on him for once. And then another room off of that would preferably be 30 by 40, and I would have a whole bench set up with multiple presses for the family cartridges, for instance, 30 caliber, 22 caliber, so on and so forth. Different presses I could pull off the turrets and have it where, so 30-06, just so on and so forth down the line. I have another area for casting. Probably would doing the casting off of the back of the house, of course outside, and then have an area for powder coating, stuff like that. Then another area for storage for the rest of my tools and equipment. If I even had more room, I'd have a garage, like a big building, and that would have a lathe. I could design my own guns, build my own guns, stuff like that. I'd have a XY axis mill, lathe, all those fun toys.
$30 by $40 would get you most of that. You could put a lathe inside of that and a milling machine, and then have enough room for benches and everything else along the sides. You put the milling machine and the lathe in the center of the room, and then you work from there. So,
okay, something to think about. Hopefully, get property down the road, and probably end up doing is building the building, and just do everything out in the outbuilding. So,
problem then is heating and cooling it.
Yep, that's kind of where that comes into play. You're right.
Sharenda.
Well, I would definitely want it separate from the house so I can get away. So I'm thinking hens den, shed. But the only thing different I would do is I would probably set it up how I've done my sewing rooms in the past. L-shaped area on the walls, center table for just random work. But with the exception, my tables would have hydraulics. That way I can either lift it and stand and work or sit. I'd also have separate area just for washing that has a sink for cleaning brass. It would also be 2-level. I think I would prefer like a loft area where I can use that for storage. Also keep my stash not easily visible for those that may visit on occasion. Then I think I would have 2 additional extensions on top of that. One would be kind of dedicated to a casting area that kind of has a walkout little bitty patio just to get some air, and maybe have a garage door where you can lift it up and open. And I'd probably have a separate area where I would just keep extra data and logs that I'm not using at the time, kind of rotate them out. Nothing too fancy.
So we got a multi-level building that has benches and all hydraulically lifted or electronically lifted benches, so you could stand or sit. And how big? I mean, 20 by 30 or what?
I'm thinking maybe 20 by 40, just to have a little bit of weight, a little bit of space.
Okay. So you're looking
to win the lotto.
800 square feet?
Maybe a little more.
Yeah, times 2, 1,600 square feet.
Yep. The loft area would definitely be real important to me.
How big is the loft area going to be?
Maybe about half the space.
Okay.
And it would strictly be used just for storage and inventory.
Okay.
So all your hunting gear goes there, right?
Nope. This is
No?
just for reloading.
Just for reloading. Okay.
Hunting gear would be a little. Oh, it also has central air, controlled environment.
Okay.
Definitely, it has central air, central heat. Now hunting room would be its own separate deal.
So how many calibers do you reload for?
3, sometimes 4.
Okay, 1,600 feet to reload for 4 calibers. Okay.
Well, no, if I had that kind of money to do what I want, there would be a lot more calibers because there'd be a lot more guns.
Okay.
So, Paul, you want to go or you want me to go?
You go ahead.
All right. So, one of the things that I'm sitting here chuckling about as I'm listening to Jim and Nick and Sharenda, one of the key things that I said in this whole entire thing, money is not an object. So, y'all a bunch of cheap bastards. First off, Sharenda, I'm a fat kid. No fucking stairs.
There wouldn't be stairs.
No stairs.
There wouldn't be stairs.
No elevators. No second level. None. No.
Well, you also got to think about what if
No.
the electricity goes out?
No stairs. Yeah, how are you going to get down if you're stuck up there?
Yeah, that's why you.
See, that's why you don't have stairs.
Use ladder.
No stairs. No ladders. No second level. All right. So I like Idaho Rogers addition there. The only improvement I want is a hot tub on my back deck so I can shoot a deer from it while drinking a beer. Absolutely. That is a life goal of mine. All right. So first off, obviously, it's going to have a nice recording studio in it, set up with a 16-foot bench with T-Tracks and what's his name's plate change-out system. So that way I can do different demonstrations for different episodes and stuff like that. So that's going to be in one corner. Yeah, what's his name?
Nick? Inline. The inline publication.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, as far as size, I really haven't really decided yet. It's not going to be a pole barn. It's actually going to be a regular framed building. So it actually has insulation so it can be climate controlled. My casting area is going to be a painting booth. Why a painting booth, you say? Because painting booths have ridiculously amazing ventilation. And they're usually not that expensive. You can get a painting booth for, if you get a really nice one, they're about 25 grand. And so I can cast to my heart's content without having to worry about ventilation because the ventilation is just awesome. All of my storage is going to be downstairs. If I have a concern of thievery or needing to keep it out of the area, then I would determine to go with more specialized. Right now, it would just be regular shelves with totes and stuff for different size totes for different items. I would get a rack to hold all the presses on, and I can just take them off the rack, off the wall, and go and put them on in the display room. Now, as far as the actual reloading room, because remember I said money's not an object here, kids. I'm not going to have to change out presses. Every single one's going to be bolted down separately because I don't need to change out presses. And I sure in the heck don't need to change out dies on the presses. So if I'm loading 9mm, I got a press dedicated to 9. If I'm loading different rifle cartridges. I've got different turret presses dedicated to that. You guys got to think outside the box. I'm telling you. As far as a practical one, if we're going to do that, I would probably look at about 30 feet of bench space, 2 foot deep, and I would have it at 30 inches high. That way it's not too high and too low. I can sit if I want to, or I can stand if I want to. And I would definitely have inline fabs exchange system for doing that. And then I would have tactical walls put in for their setup. And then I would when we had them on the show way back when, they've got a helmet holder that I looked at that would be perfect to modify for holding presses. So I would use that to put all the presses on the tactical wall. I would have a storage area for brass. I'd have a storage area for different things. I would probably look into some sort of efficient way to prep brass, clean brass. So probably have, in all in ridiculous terms, I would have a production line for the brass. I would have, like, say, a cement mixer or something like that for wet tumbling. And then I would have, what I would do is I would actually build a baker's oven. You know what I'm talking about, Paul? I would build a baker's oven. So what a baker's oven is, it's a walk-in oven. And you put your items on a huge, on a 6 foot tall cart or 7 foot tall cart, depending on how tall you make it. And you just wheel it into the oven and you shut the door. So I would have all my brass that would come out of the cement mixer through a filter screen, get rinsed off, go right onto these trays, and then I'd just wheel them right into the dang oven, and they'd sit in there and dry. It's kind of like a giant dehydrator. So, and obviously it would be climate controlled, but it's insulated, so that would help keep those costs down. Lighting would probably be all LED. That type of thing. I wouldn't need an automatic brass sorter because that's what kids are for.
You're going to have more?
No. I'm going to start a neighborhood shooting program, and so then when they want to shoot, they're going to have to come and work for it. Aha! So.
You forgot one thing.
What'd I forget?
You forgot your indoor shooting range.
Yes, I did. I hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I saw Jorgen say that. So, obviously, if we're looking at test loads, and actually I would do this with either, because the nice thing about building in a building like this is you could build a soundproof room where you can actually discharge firearms and nobody will have a freaking clue. So what I would do is I would have in the scaled down version, I would have just a soundproof room for discharging the firearms to test loads over a chronographer with a lab radar, just for short distance. Have a bullet trap in there of some sort, whether it's able to capture the projectiles in one piece or not. I don't know. Depends on the cost. For the unlimited budget, I'm going to have a 100-yard range inside this building that is all enclosed, ventilated, and everything like that. And I'm also going to have a 50-yard range, which I can then adjust for anywhere from 5 yards to 50, for anywhere from pistol to shotgun to, other various things. I thought about a 300-yard range, but that's kind of impractical to enclose even with ridiculous amounts of money. So 100 yards isn't bad. I mean, that's definitely you can fit a 100-yard range inside most of your warehouses you see nowadays. 300 yards, a little longer, so a little more. And then also with the 300 yard, you'd be looking at issues of distance versus drop. So you'd have to plan for that with your ceiling heights for your range. Whereas the 100 yard, you could literally get those 6-foot concrete culverts and shoot through those if you needed to. So anyway, Paul, go for it.
Yeah, well, money is no object, and
exactly, money is no object.
It is no object, and I sit down and I look at a reloading room that is exactly that. I mean, it is set up with starting at the cleaning station would be an industrial size ultrasonic cleaner,
slash hot tub.
Yeah, you might as well call it a hot tub, something in the in the 100 quart range, something like that. We could get that. Next is is the dehydrator area where you can take it out and let them dry out. On the wall would be the large Arco bins, what are they? They 12 inches wide, 16 inches deep, about 8 inches tall. That's my brass. Of course, it's all Lupua, so I'm not worried about, having to do a lot of work to it, but it's all there and labeled so you could just sit there and there's no reaching up to get something. You push a button and it comes down to you. So it just slides up and down on hydraulics. That way you could take out the brass that you need for that or put it away. Next is the brass inspection station. It's an optical comparator type situation. So it automatically looks at the piece of brass, goes through it, checks it, makes sure that it's a good piece of brass. If it's not, there's a little air thing that just kicks it out and goes right on down the line to the next station. We hit the brass prep area, and we start with the automatic priming insertion machine. Not individually now. This is not something like a Camdex or anything, but we have a machine that all it's there for is powered. It is powered that would automatically prime the brass that we need and move on to my next station, which is our powder selection, where it is weighed out to 1/100th of a grain for each load. And it's computer controlled. So we just hit the keys on the computer, say what it is, and go. I'm figuring all this is going to fit into somewhere about a 30 by 40 building, okay, because of the size of things that need to be. I'm not worried about bench height or anything else because there's very little touching of any brass or anything along that line. It's just mostly coming up, inspecting, looking at things, reordering things that are needed. We get next to the bullet section. Again, it'd be more like a Mr. Bullet. Come out, take a look at it, okay, put it in, have it run through a press where it gets pointed, inspected again by a comparator, optical comparator, and then it gets loaded into the cartridge case. The press would automatically note the neck tension that it has, and anything that was not within specs would kick that out too. We'd have our completed piece of brass at the end of the line. Now, we have to have a place for testing. and there's two types of testing, which is destructive testing and non-destructive testing. Destructive testing is where we do have an actual piezo gun where we would shoot a load. It would test it, actually with the ported barrel. It would check it, the load sensor, the load cell would test out what our range was on it, and we'd know if we have what our pressures were and everything else. Then we could go on to non-destructive testing at 200 yards. 6 foot tall concrete square culverts are, they're fine as long as you got a 5-ton crane to put them in. You can lift them and set them. Laser controlled depth and everything else going out there, and to a catch bullet trap, and then underneath that, under one of the sides, again using they have a storm storage units type situation, which would be put in for an underground shooting range to have 50 yards for pistol in a wide area, so you could shoot and move, use your carbine into it and something like that. Nothing just outrageous, just a nice mechanized area to do the loading. Money's no object. That's it.
All right. Anybody want to change or add anything now that you've heard Paul and I go?
Jim is just still sitting there.
I'm going to add the Vortex Edge training facility because they have a 100-yard, 50-yard, and 25-yard indoor range with the whole room, with the reloading press and everything up there. I'd add that as well to my facility.
Okay.
I'm just gonna copy.
Sharenda, you're gonna.
If money was no object,
which it wasn't,
I would have you guys design my room, and then I'd pay for y'all's too for the work.
So Idaho Rogers USMC said, anybody else get the idea that Paul has done a scary amount of daydreaming about this?
And you're right behind me.
A little bit.
So
Idaho, just so you know, my last place in Missouri that I had was not so much automated, but it had the room to do all the things and a place to shoot out the back end. My lathe and milling machine are there still. My benches, a lot of my benches are there. It just got health problems and everything else got to me, so I knew exactly what I wanted.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really start thinking about it until I came up with this idea for the conversation for tonight. So I probably got about 15 minutes of thought into it. I didn't even think about Paul's idea of having everything mechanized, so you can just push a button. And I'd get even fancier. I'd have anybody who's seen Rogue One, when they're in the Imperial Library, and they're trying to find the file they're trying to find. It's this huge area, and it's kind of like a pop machine, essentially. You type in the location you want, the getter goes to that location and grabs that thing. Well, that's how it's going to be for all my reloading stuff. So, like, my 9mm brass is going to be at A4. So I type in I don't even have to hit that. I have different buttons that I can have. I have a touch screen, with swipe buttons. So what I can do is I've actually got a touch panel. It's probably 16 by 16 or so, and it's got a bunch of buttons on it that are all labeled. And so I just touch a button and that item shows up, and then I can flip pages to have all the different buttons. And the buttons are easy enough to program when I add a new location or something. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, like Daniel Anderson said, Carvana for guns. So,
and don't forget the patch boards for the Patriot Patch Company's excellent products.
Yep. Speaking of Patriot Patch Company's excellent products. Dun, dun, dun. Trent is a slacker, hasn't gotten them out of the package yet. So, like every November, we have two. We have the turkey, or in this case, the Turkinator, the Reckoning. And then we have our Black Friday patch, which is a helmet and a pair of NVGs. So, and that one says, live every day like it's Black Friday. And then obviously the Turkinator, the Reckoning. So, swing over to Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. They've got all sorts of cool crap. So one of the cool things is they've got these little magnet boards. You can stick it right on the side of your fridge, and then you stick your patches to it. They make different things, including nice aluminum signs out of some of their patches, like this one, yep. Tree of Liberty, water with the blood of patriots and tyrants. So
I've got an idea for my magnetic patch board. I'm going to take and put up at least one piece of 48 by 24 sheet steel fastened to the wall, and then just put the magnet right on that sheet steel.
See, that's too much work.
And then I'll be able to put as many as 6 patch boards on that. See,
that's too much work because I'm going to have the whole thing sheetrocked. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some fabric, whichever
I'm talking
one
about
patches.
my garage. I'm not talking about my dream room. I'm talking about my garage.
Oh, in your garage? Okay. See, well, that's still too much work.
Well,
because now you got to buy the magnet boards. If you just put, remember how I made that frame a while ago with the fabric? Well, I wouldn't use that fabric again because it didn't hold up very well. I'd find like a flannel or a felt that would work well, and then literally just staple gun it to the sheetrock. Make sure it's nice and tight. Or if you want, you could use tack board on the outside edges to make sure it stays nice and tight. And then you just put your patches up. And you got a huge spot because that steel is going to cost you a crap ton of money. The magnets to put on top of the steel are going to cost you a crap ton of money when the sheetrock's already there.
It isn't going to cost me a dime.
Well, there you go.
I have a source.
A bit nuts. 3 things you need in life to be happy. 1 time, 2 health, 3 money. I've never had more than 2 out of 3 at the same time.
You're here.
I don't know. Maybe I disagree with some of that. What are the 3 things in life? There's money, cheap, gratuitous sex, and senseless violence. Those are the 3 things.
Paul.
Yeah.
This is a G-rated show. You shit.
That was G-rated. I didn't swear.
Yeah, unlike me earlier.
I have not sworn.
Oh my goodness. Anyway.
I noticed that one too, Mike, but I didn't want to say anything.
Well, I was really adamant about the whole stairs thing. It's like, that's worse than trying to steal my cake. Come on. So Paul Loud wants to know why anybody didn't mention ALAC's station in their dream build.
I don't ALOX.
Nope. No, in my casting area, I will have a powder coat area. And I will have another one of those walk-in ovens for powder coating.
Now you guys are all sitting there complaining about what I said. And let me ask you a question. When was the last time you went to a movie?
I'm maintaining my innocence here because I had many thoughts in my head.
I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm just going to. Jim already logged off. He's scared to death of that.
I already know where this is going.
The last Star Wars movie was the last time I went to a movie.
Oh, okay.
So what was that? 2018, 2019?
Okay. And no one has seen a James Bond movie in the last 10 years or.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Okay. I'm just wondering. I mean, this is just the American way. I mean, it's just that's it.
I didn't say anything bad about it. So
neither did I. The last time I saw a movie was 2 days ago. Upstairs in my upstairs theater.
Okay.
So Paul, so basically what you're saying, Paul, is you're going to have a Bond movie without the car chases and the bad guy trying to kill you scene.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lab like Q has set up. Except for reloading.
Yeah.
So
you brought up James Bond, so it's like might as well talk about somebody we know. Q.
Yeah.
So
there's a new Q now, so we don't have the old guy anymore.
He's probably 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah. So now,
anyway.
just commenting on our people that listen to the show.
Yep. So
Paul, at least you were honest.
Hey.
See there, she's not picking on you.
No. Mm-mm.
So just a reminder, if anybody's looking for brass goblin gear, that's Rod from Hunt Shoot Off Road. And I've got a link in the show notes to his shop where you can get different gear stuff. So, and we've got a 10% off code there. So that's RLP10. Save 10% on your brass goblin gear. So, like I said, Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. Good place for all sorts of fun stuff, not just patches. They've got all sorts of cool stuff there. And they also do custom orders in case you've got something you're looking for, like stickers or, whatever. They'll work with you on stuff. And Primary Arms has over 13,000 different items. And that smoking's caught up with Paul finally.
No, not me. That was Jim. That was Jim. Jim was dying over there. The secondhand smoke,
Jim, can you hear us? So.
Yes, I can hear you. I had to mute myself because I didn't want to steal the show.
There you go. So Lead Bullet Junkie wants to know where you would buy a Moroku lever action. I don't know if Moroku's still making the Winchester 94s or not. But if they are, that's where you would be. So for anybody who's not in the know, Moroku is the Japanese factory that has made Winchester and Browning rifles for at least 25 years. Yeah, possibly Browning BLR might be Moroku too. I don't know. I'll have to look.
It is.
Okay. So there you go.
It is.
Browning BLR, I'd recommend over the Winchester 94. The 308 BLR is amazing to shoot. Very accurate too. Primary Arms is having a Blem Open Blocks blowout sale on their optics.
Good job. Very professional.
That's funny as heck.
Yeah.
So is Alex Baldwin going over there?
Oh my goodness. I'm not going there. We went there last week. We're not going there again. So, but yeah, so swing over to Primary Arms, check it out. If you buy Primary Arms optics and you use the coupon code FRN, you get free mounts. So check that out. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I wanted to cover? Any shout outs? Anybody else got any shout outs? Sharenda?
Oh,
I
I
got
have
none
something.
at the moment.
Jim?
Excuse me. I have something I want to take and address to our listeners. Folks, if you want to join the podcast group on Facebook, by all means, every one of you is welcome. But please understand, we need you to answer the 3 questions. That's one of the ways we take and tell whether you're serious about joining the group
Or if you're a spammer.
or a troll. Worse yet, a troll that's trying to get our group killed. Please answer the questions. Answer them straight. Answer them serious. Answer them true.
Yep. Yeah, a bit nuts. I'd agree. I really do feel sorry for Alec. A bit nuts that I really feel sorry for Alec, but Alec Baldwin, everyone associated with that incident. I agree wholeheartedly, and hopefully that Hollywood learned something out of it because they didn't learn anything the last time it happened.
Those who refuse to study history are doomed to repeat it.
Well, I gotta say that he did not hire a prop house because he was trying to be cheap.
Yeah,
he is a producer and owner of this movie, and I listened to Ian talking to a couple of Hollywood prop houses and about everything that goes on in them. And if he would have hired a real company to take care of this, there wouldn't have been a problem.
right.
So I don't feel sorry for people that make their own problems.
True. I'd like to give a shout out to the people that gave Sharenda the Benelli to test because it is funny watching her struggle trying to figure out if she's going to keep it or not.
I say
Keep it, keep it, keep it, keep it, keep it, keep it, keep it.
Gosh, you guys are worse than Benelli.
no. We want you to have a quality firearm.
I would love to keep it. We'll have to see. That's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen.
Lady,
Parazzi is probably my annual salary.
We just want you to have your dream gun, at least as close to it as you can get.
There you go.
I had my dream gun. That company broke my heart.
Obviously, it wasn't a good dream.
No.
So,
Tell us about it sometime.
Yeah.
at any rate,
Hit the lottery, dear. Hit the lottery.
And then Parazzi.
there you go.
Better
If she,
yet,
hits, if she hits the big one, then she can go Craig off.
Wow. You talk about rough. I thought that was uncalled for. As inhumane, Paul. Shame on
I
you.
won't even test
Krieghoff.
Krieghoff. I had an opportunity to try one, and I was like, nah, I think I'm good on that one.
You hit that lottery, you can buy yourself a Krieghoff factory.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah. You're right. You're both.
Krieghoff factory.
Paul says 72 easy payments.
That's right. That's right.
You just got to find somebody that'll give you enough credit.
There are companies out there. Look at Dylan. You can go on. You can buy a press now from Dylan on credit.
There you go.
You know, I don't think I would ever want to buy any gun that expensive on credit. That's pretty much a house.
Mm-hmm.
I never have, never will.
Yeah.
I can think of about 50 muscle cars that I would buy before I would buy a Perazzi or a Krieghoff.
I can think of a bunch of other less cost-effective guns that I would rather own than one Krieghoff.
So
No thrill.
I don't know. There's something to be said for driving a muscle car when you're going 55 or 70 down the interstate, and you decide to nail the gas, and it decides it wants to go the opposite direction when it lights the tires up. That's fun. So
I got a baby muscle car, but it doesn't do that.
Light the tires up in fifth gear. That would be impressive.
I did that. That's over in old stuff. Not a 70s or early 60s muscle car. This was a 90s muscle car.
turbo.
Oh, a real muscle car.
No.
It was a BMW M3 with supercharger. So that was good. Yeah.
I got a Challenger, and if my deer get bigger than what I've caught the last couple of times, I'm seriously gonna have to consider trading it in. The trunk I almost didn't want to close. Yes, I have thrown a deer in the back of the trunk of my Challenger.
Just get a
No
truck.
chain.
That's why they make pickup trucks, Shrine.
That's
Yeah,
right.
just get
I
a
know,
truck.
but there's logic behind why I still have it. My car is almost paid off, so it's paid off, and then
As soon as it's paid
There you
off,
go.
then you get your Perazzi, then you can get the pickup truck.
there will be no Perazzi.
I thought this was a reloading show.
We're talking about, she has to
How to
have
get your range.
she has to have a gun to get the right shells to go into the Perazzi,
Yep.
So you got the Perazzi, then you get the either the 366 or what's that one that the gold standard
Paul,
yeah,
if I
press.
can afford a Perazzi, I should also be able to afford someone that every time I open the action or break the gun open, they can be right there to catch my shells and load 2 more in for me.
Okay,
That's the
I
kind of
just,
money I'm going to be on.
just sit down. You break the gun open. Your fingers are there. They go like this. You
No.
pick the they go like
No.
this.
The
You drop
shells
them right
will
into
never touch
into
my
the bag.
fingers. The shells will never
And
touch my
then
fingers.
the second box is right there. You pick up the 2. They drop right in. Gun gets closed up. You bring it up. You're ready to go.
No, I'm going to have a shell loader. What'd you call him? A shell boy?
Shell boy. Shell boy.
You go to Mexico and you go to Argentina, and you don't have you have a shell person and a gun person. You sit down and you shoot, bang, 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 3 shells. You hand the gun to this person, and he hands you a gun that's already loaded, so you can keep going. Okay.
Why do I have to wait? They don't have limits on their birds.
No, they don't have limits
Good
on their
idea.
birds.
For a
Great
reason.
idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
So you have a person there that has a case of shells there, and all he does is load them up and hand them to you.
Dang, make it a bonus and let them have coffee on tap for me too, and we're good.
No, they have a barista there.
Even better.
Yep. Argentina is great bird hunting.
I've heard it's on my wish list. Maybe when I retire.
Do it before you retire. That way you can pay for it. I'm done. Okay, I've disrupted this show enough today.
Yeah, Paul was in rare form.
Yep. So now they're talking about cars and vehicles, and Andy 79Z28's talking about doing a Wisconsin thing. He had a 70 Celica GT, but he'd tie the deer down on the trunk. Yep. So
that's better than tying it down on the front end, so it gets cooked on the way home.
Right? Yeah, that's not a good thing. I've seen that though.
Yeah.
Especially I've seen that on a CJ actually. So anyway. So if you've got topics you want us to talk about, send us an email to reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on most social medias. If you want the Discord link, send me a private message on Facebook or on MeWe, and I'll get that to you. Or send us an email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. You can call us or text us at 608-467-0308. You can find us on, like I said, pretty much every social media except Twitter. I don't really have it's really not a good platform for what we do. So listening to them toss about ideas about vehicles they want, it's kind of funny. Yes, I was looking at the chat again. Remember, Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co, and Primary Arms, great sponsors, help us out. But we also want to take time to thank our Patreons who really helped keep this thing going. So thank you very much for all those. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Millsap short bus.
Trenda.
Show a lady how to reload. She will like it.
Grandpa told me, despite what your mother says, violence does solve problems.
Support the Second Amendment, 2A all the way. Join a Pro 2A organization. Even a hunting club is better than nothing. I'm not knocking hunting clubs. I'm just saying support our Second Amendment rights.
Yep. Get involved. If you're struggling, especially with this season upon us, there is help out there. You're not fighting alone. 1-800-273-8255 is a great place to start. There's lots of other resources too. So don't give up. It's a struggle, but you can make it through. Good night, all.
Good night.
Night, y'all.